What is up, guys? This is, of course, your boy Bernie here, and we're going to add another video to this Charge episode today. This is going to be, I believe this video will come out on Thursday, April 28th. Man, time flies when you're having a good time here talking about basketball, and, there's so much stuff going on. Summer basketball's coming up for my high school team. We got a lot of stuff to kind of talk about here. And this is, of course, a story about the NBA's expansion into two new teams, possibly being Las Vegas and Seattle. We all know that the NBA is making a ton of money, and we know that this Turner ESPN deal is around the corner, and we know that this is going to make an influx of money, going to probably double and triple valuations of these NBA teams. It's interesting to find out, like, at what point does it not keep going up and just stagnates? Like, that's going to be the interesting situation when it comes to sports, because it used to be $1 million industry and now it has turned into $1 billion industry. Obviously, that including just the NBA itself, not to mention, you have your college and your youth sports stuff with AAU. I still need to go over an AAU video. I think that that's something that needs to happen at some point. And just talk about just the experience that I had and the experience of just coaching, and what I think could be a better solution for AAU. But again, that's a video for another day. This article is by Henry Abbott, and it goes to an odd silence around the NBA's expansion to Las Vegas and Seattle. So it starts off, and I'll kind of read the quote here. There's much speculation about whether or not the NBA is set to award Las Vegas and Seattle expansion teams. Many of them seem to think it's a done deal. The question is the NBA coming to Vegas and Seattle? I've been asked that, said Badin, and I answer the same way, answer every time. We're not making that assumption. We're not going to speculate. We're not going to be presumptive. It's up to the 32 owners and the commissioner. They have to decide which markets they decide are attractive. This is the most curious part of the story. Oakview is boldly speculating with billions on the arrival of the NBA in Las Vegas and Seattle, but they won't speculate with words. Why not? Badin has had a career in sports and left his job as president of the Raiders to work for the Oakview Group, which appears to have a well-positioned in Seattle and Las Vegas to host the NBA's next expansion teams. Oakview insists, however, that their development can work with or without an NBA. Founder Tim Lewicki and Irving Ozoff, Oakview builds the run stadiums all over the world, have no trouble filling them with top music acts. Of course, we know that this is just a company and organization that kind of deals with that stuff. I think the biggest thing, and this comes from the Seattle Times from Goff Baker, writes, the expansion team, which the NBA includes similar denials from NBA and Oakview. You know more than anyone, never to get ahead of the commissioner. Said that phone interview when asked about Las Vegas being an area for NBA use. The decisions on if and when NBA expands up to commissioner. Of course, we just read that. Before I kind of go into talking about competitive balance and gambling and other things like that, you also got the cut of the thing. Here's what I'll say about this whole situation. I think it is time that the NBA does expand. I think it's time to go to 32 teams. The NFL has 32 teams. The NBA, for some reason, only has 30 teams. I think it's time to expand it to 2, because I feel like Seattle is a growing market for sports. It has become like a tech bubble in a sense where, you have your Amazons. I think there was some Google as well, and many other things that have happened in the city. I think the NBA I think Seattle is ready for the NBA, and it has been for a while. I think it should have never left. It should have never went to Oklahoma City Thunder, and I blame Howard Schultz for just trading it away. I'm supporting him with the Starbucks cup. Hate that, but they make a great green tea, so I have to take it. But nevertheless, we need to make sure that the NBA comes back to Seattle. I think the kids around the area are hungry for that team to come back, watch some NBA games. No one wants to drive 3 hours to Portland if you live in the Seattle area. It takes 3 hours to get there. By the time you're done, you're tired, the game is over, and you have to drive all the way back home, and it's late by the time you come back home. I think that it's time that the NBA does its due diligence and brings a team to Seattle. Because, to be honest with you, I do think that the NBA is severely... I think it should be a lot of... This is the reason why. And I know I keep stumbling on my words, but I want to make it very clear. The NBA and just players around the world in general are so much better than they were 10 to 15 years ago. And you can clearly see that there are players that are playing in Europe right now that should be on an NBA roster, or at least competing for an NBA roster. I think by expanding the league, giving it 2 more teams, I think it expands the pool and allows to add more players to that pool. And it allows to add players that should be playing for that organization. Again, I think that there's so many good players. Like, yes, you have your 150 that are like the top dons, the echelons, the guys that are, no matter what, need to be in the league. But the rest of the guys that kind of fluctuate in and out depending on what a team needs, depending on the season, depending on the flavor that the team feels, there is so much good basketball players out there. It's surprising that some of those guys are not on a roster. And I just think by expanding it to teams, you can add some of those guys that really are like on the cusp to make it. And again, it just adds more competitive, it adds more variety. And I think that a competitive league is a great thing for the league, right? You know, we're getting a great series right now with the Timberwolves and Minnesota or Memphis Grizzlies, Minnesota Timberwolves and Memphis Grizzlies. We're getting a tremendous series. We're also getting a good series in the Utah Dallas series. Again, I know defensive wise for the Jazz, it's not very good, but at the same time, you're getting a very competitive series. Even the Pelicans and the Suns, a competitive, fun series. And I just think that when I look at everything and when I see everything, how can you not want to add another team or two to make sure that the balance and everything is great? To me, I think the NBA needs to do this. I think that they need to start expanding. I think they need to start looking at things because at the end of the day, the league is all about making money. And if you are not making money for the league, they're not going to look at you the same way. They're going to be confused as to why you are not contributing to making this team or to make any money for the NBA. I think the NBA is going to be well off in Seattle. There's already an arena here. It's not like you need to build it like they had to a couple years back. They remodeled Key Arena, aka now Climate Pledge. I'm still going to call it Key Arena. I don't care what anybody says. Even the Kingdom, or not the Kingdom, it's what it used to be called. I need to look up what the Key Arena used to be called back in the day. But at the end of the day, the NBA just needs to expand. And I just think that when it comes down to it, the money will continue to grow. I think the NBA, the NFL, soccer, I think soccer especially has done it already. They're looking into the gambling things that DraftKings does, that Sportsduel. I think Barstool Sports does their stuff as well. I mean, there's so many things and revenues and organization and ways that these NBA teams can go. If you can tie it into gambling, and again, I am not a big gambler. I'm not. That's not really my steez. But my friends are. My friends love to kind of gamble and parlay and do all these other stuff. Talking about how many points is he going to score? Over under the Nets win by 4. Tyrese talks about it all the time. Pete talks about it all the time. They love that idea of betting on games because it makes the games just that much fun. Again, when it comes to players doing it, that's a different story. We obviously have talked about that numerous times before and how that could get a lot of people into trouble. But at the end of the day, if you're gambling and you can add so much revenue from that to the NBA, if you can get it back to the NBA, if the NBA takes that money, imagine how much more money the NBA can make. I think the NBA can make millions, if not billions, just on gambling alone. I mean, there's so many avenues and revenues that the league can go, and I think that's one of them. And even if the players want more of the pie, you can be a little bit more giving, because at the end of the day, if you give them that 50-50 or even that 49-51, they're going to be happy with it because they're going to get more money in their books, and it allows more people to come on board. You get an expansion team. I think that also allows for it as well. I just think that it's a great idea. I don't know why they decided not to, or why anyone would deny that these groups be joined together or to do anything, because at the end of the day, here's the thing. The league is so much better when the Sonics are back. I think the Sonics are one of the NBA's greatest treasures. Again, is it one of the power elites? Is it the Lakers? Is it the Celtics? No, it's not. But the Sonics have their own special history here in the NBA. You got guys like Lenny Wilkins, and there's so much culture. Jamal Crawford being a great Rainier Beach alum. B. Roy from Garfield. I mean, there's so many great players that have come through Seattle. You even have Pablo Banchero right now, depending on where he gets drafted, a no-day kid coming to play in the league. Like, the league needs a Seattle team to allow these kids to come back to the city that they love. Seattle is a great basketball area because it rains so much, you have to play inside. And I think that that's something that the NBA needs to do. I should say the NBA, but the NBA does need to bring a team here, and it's because of the rich history that goes on in here in Seattle. Again, so many players, and I can name so many more. DeJounte Murray came from Eastside Catholic. I mean, there's so many great players Marjan Borkamp is going to be drafted this year as well, along with Paolo Banchero. The NBA needs to do their due diligence. Get these guys on a roster. Otherwise, it's just going to be one of those situations where, Seattle is just going to be a great basketball city with great culture, but nowhere to kind of show that culture, especially when it comes to the NBA. But let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys make of this story? Are you guys, if you are in Seattle, if you are in Vegas, do you want your city to grab a team? Let me know in the comment section down below. Please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. And remember, guys, let me know what you think about the NBA potentially coming to LA and Seattle. Anyway, guys, please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace out, everybody.